Shalom, and welcome to Raindrops from Heaven, where we seek to bring a little bit of heaven to earth. I'm your host, Angie Howard. Thanks for stopping by. So I hope everybody's having a blessed day. I just really prayed about this video, and as I've committed to make them more consistently, I feel like this is the one the Father wanted me to start out with. And so, the Father gave me a dream at the beginning of the Hebrew New Year, which is called Rosh Hashanah, and some call it Yom Teruah, and it's the head of the year. It starts in the fall. It started this year overlapping the Gregorian calendar, which is the regular calendar, at the end of September. And so I believe this is a prophetic word for not only the Hebrew calendar, but for the regular calendar as well. Okay, so during what is known as the Feast of Tabernacles, also known as Sukkot, which fell this year in the month of October, and it just so happened to be my birthday, I prayed and asked the Father to show me what the coming year, what the theme of it was going to be, what, His intentions were for this year. And so one of those days during Sukkot, He gave me a dream. And in the dream, Bob and I, my husband, were picnicking on a field. And it was a very large field, and we were kind of up the top of a hill looking down into a meadow. And I knew there were other people around, just, like a park, just playing with their animals, having picnics too, walking, whatever. And so he was looking toward me, and I was looking down the hill. And all of a sudden, I heard this really loud noise. And I was looking around like, what is that? And then I noticed behind him some really bright flashes of light. And so I kind of leaned over and looked past him, and I saw on the horizon an angel. And the angel was rising up and was turned sideways. And in the angel's hand was a bright, huge silver trumpet. And as he blew the trumpet, he began to rise and rise and rise. And I'm just amazed, I'm looking up, and then he was at the very top of the sky, and I woke up. So I was like, I just don't know what that means, but I knew that it was from the Father, obviously. So I have a very good friend, brother in Messiah, named Brian Newman, and he has been gifted with the ability to interpret dreams on occasion, quite often actually. Anyway, so I sent him a message and asked him if he thought of anything when he saw the message, the dream. And he said that in the Hebrew, the silver trumpet, which is different from the ram's horn, which is called a shofar, usually symbolized recompense, like where a leveling comes, where you pay up what's due, a blessing, or a judgment, depending on what your justice and due was. And so I thought, well, that's great, and so I prayed and asked the Father, and according to biblical thought, which I agree with 100%, you need a second witness. So a few days later, maybe a week, I went to see my good friend and spiritual mom, Terry, and I was actually, I hadn't even told her about the dream yet, but she wanted me to watch a video she had found, and it was about a man, and he was interpreting biblical code, and it just so happened to be regarding the new year. And so the new year in Hebrew is 5783. Now, for those of you who don't know, each letter in the Hebrew alphabet also represents a number, and they correlate. So this particular video that I saw, the man was focusing on the number 3, which is the last number, because he prayed and he asked the Father, which number is the most significant for the coming year? And he said the number 3, which I thought was interesting because it's the biblical New Year, 5783, but it's also the New Year, as we know, 2023. Okay, So he was talking about that number, and it's called a Gimel. The number 3 is called Gimel. And so he came up with that this 3 represented both a blessing and punishment according to Isaiah 59, 14 through 18. And you guys can look that up because it definitely goes right in hand with what he was saying. And I will post that video in the comment section, and it starts about 6 minutes and 25 seconds if you want to watch it yourself. But the word was recompense. And so that was the same word that Brian had already given me. And so there was my second witness. And so I want to talk about this word for a minute. I want to talk about what it might mean and what I believe after hearing that and remembering my dream. It meant that in the past, recent past, but in the past, we have had a lot going on with the pandemic, with all the confusion about what's right, what's wrong, and what's biblical and what's not biblical, and all the confusion. And I believe that recompense means that it's almost like the Father heard our case in court, and now the judgment is those who owe will pay up, whether that's money, but I think it's more about what you've stolen or taken and done in, against the Father. And you're going to have to, own up for that. And for those who've blessed and poured in and just given, then you will be rewarded and blessed. And so I encourage you between now and the regular new year to really press in and start seeking what it is the Father wants you to focus on for your new year in regards to this word. I think it's going to be a time for blessing. I think it's going to be a time of, like almost scales lifted from our eyes. No more confusion. Is going to be writing on the wall, plain, about things that maybe in the past, things have been hidden and confusion and all that for your family, for your ministry, for your work, for whatever it is that you're seeking the Father for. And so I encourage you to do that. I hope this word has blessed you like it has me, because that's a really big deal for my family and for our ministry. And having said that, I wanted to tell you guys that coming up very soon, I have been given the opportunity to minister on Christian Television Network, both in Cleveland and Chattanooga. I'll be on the air. And so I'll update you with more information about how you might catch that. And I'm going to ask you to please be in prayer for that ministry opportunity, and that the Father uses it in whatever small way He wants to. I appreciate you guys turning in. I appreciate your prayers, and I want to pray for you right now. Father, I just ask you to bless each and every person with whatever it is they need, Lord, in this moment as they're watching this video, Lord. Remind them, Father, who they are in you and how much you love them and how much your will is for their life, is that they would have abundant life in whatever manner that may be, Lord. And whatever they're lacking, I ask that you meet that need, Father, that you deliver help and restore relationships and mindsets. And Father, that you break off anything in them, Father, that they might have believed from the enemy. And Father, I just bless you, and I ask all of this in the name of our Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus. Amen. Have a blessed day, guys. Till next time.